So Robert Boyle was born and raised in London, England, and he's worked in the field of language teaching in Mexico since 2007. He's held many positions, including working as the director at Harmon Hall, the director for Berlitz Mexico in Guadalajara, and the head of the language department at Universidad del Valle Zapopan. Robert was one of the first teachers to work with Laureate Languages Online. And during his years with them, he developed material, piloted different programs, and created training courses for teachers. Recently, he's been acting as a consultant, dedicating his time to COP engagement, material creation, course improvement, and quality assurance. Robert is also the co-founder and director of Erudite Languages and Kiki's Adventures, an interactive storybook-based platform for children to learn English. So here to speak with us today with the presentation, Where is My Teacher? The Role of an Online Educator, please welcome Robert Boyle with a warm virtual round of applause. Robert, all yours.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate all you guys being here and taking time out of your really busy schedule. So here, let me just share my screen. So here, guys. The point of my talk today is to really discuss the role of the online teacher through the learning journey. So the topic of my title of my talk today is, where is the teacher? Okay. We like to think of the teacher as the center of the class, and we know that in face-to-face classes, the teacher is always visible. But now in sort of online teaching, the teacher's not always visible. So this is what we'd like to talk about. Okay. According to education data, most students nowadays enroll in online classes not because they want to, but because the face-to-face option isn't really available. Okay. And most of the students taking online classes now are actually in public institutions and in undergraduate level. And they're using platforms like Moodle, Blackboard, and Canvas. So guys, this information is really important for us to know, because this can help us reflect on the way we approach our teaching practice. Education data also tells us that part-time faculty are also less likely to have actually had training or professional development for distance learning. And less than half of higher education faculty had actually taught online courses in the last year. And most of the students that are taking these online courses are in the field of business, health sciences, and computer sciences. So over the last couple of years, we've seen a huge transition for a number of factors from face-to-face to online classes. And we've also seen that with this transition, for a large number of faculty, there hasn't been enough of training or professional development. So where has this led? According to Get Educated, another site which does studies and surveys and crunches numbers among big schools, the main problem that students have is this feeling of isolation. They feel that online learning is no longer personal, it's impersonal, it's non-interactive. And the biggest issue is, their biggest question is, where's my teacher? So this is really important to take into consideration. So we have this huge number of students moving from face-to-face online, and we have a huge number of faculty that aren't really prepared, and it's the first time they're teaching online. There are a few things we need to take into account. What can we do to make our classes more personal, more engaging, and to break this isolation? Okay, here, guys, please feel free, if you can, to just write in the chat what order you think the other complaints are. We have, they hate the group assignment and team activities, missing or disengaged professors, poor online course design, and poor overall quality control, poor customer service. Guys, these are in the wrong order. Let's see if you can guess the right order. Which one do you think you're in? Which one do you think is the next one? Any guesses? Okay, quality control, connection problems, poor customer service. Number 3. Guys, the second complaint is actually missing or disengaged professors. Hard to interact. Guys, according to Get Educated, the second one is actually poor overall quality control. After that, it's 3. They hate group assignments and projects. There's poor customer service and poor online course design. So if we already have this information, there's something we can do about it. So we take this into consideration when we approach our courses and when we approach our lessons. So if we think of our course as a whole process, we have 3 stages. There's the beginning of our lesson or our course, during and after. Even before our courses start, we can engage our students. So before our courses start, guys, you can find out who's who, okay? Find out what their internal and external motivators are, because these things vary from person to person. We can get some insights into who or what's actually going on, or their skills or proficiencies. We can plan or personalize their content, because not everyone's the same. Not all the learners are taking the courses for the same reason, and not everything strikes the same emotional chord with everyone. We can create anticipation. Okay, before our courses have even started, let's hype our courses up. Let's pump our students up. Let's get them really looking forward to taking our classes. And let's also let's spend some time to reduce this anxiety. Because remember, they're also going through a process, and students may not be used to this online environment too. So they may be having these feelings of anxiety. We can also explain the added value that our course brings before they've even taken it. So I have some ideas of how we can do this. Here, these are some other courses. Something really simple like engage students with an interesting course name or title. So I went on to masterclass, and Gordon Ramsay, you either like him or you hate him, but he's got a course that's called Restaurant Recipes at Home. Sounds pretty exciting. I mean, maybe cooking like a restaurant dishes in your house. I worked on a course for another company called Zoo Care Project, and we did one about moving an asteroid. There's a course I created called I Found a Dead Body, about using a guy that found a dead body using Google Maps, and we titled it like that just to grab students' attention right before they started their course. Welcome your students even before they start their course. Something simple like a welcome email or a welcome video that you can send out. Okay, it can explain the value of your course, can set clear expectations, but also it helps to reduce the anxiety of the course itself, and it creates this personal connection with them. Guys, you can set pre-tasks before they take their course, and you could do a mini needs analysis. You could find out who and why they're taking their course. If you're working in a school or a university or anything, each person's still different and each person still has individual needs. You can use things like Google Forms or Microsoft Forms, SurveyMonkey, or create your own mini needs analysis to get sort of insights into things that can help shape your course. And create a course overview. If you create a course overview, students can see what's coming and how they can prepare for it. You're setting clear expectations so everyone knows what's going to happen. There are no surprises. This also, guys, helps reduce anxiety. Again, guys, before your course even starts, set these clear expectations. Let them know exactly what's going to happen. Let them know when it's going to happen, what the ground rules are, what you expect of them, and what they can expect of you. Even things like communication. How are you going to communicate and when you're going to communicate? If you're going to answer their emails in a space of 24 hours from Monday to Friday, but on the weekend, it's going to take you 48 hours, let them know right from the beginning. It lets them know how things are going so they know where they are. And this also makes them feel like they're accompanied because there's none of this waiting. So they're being accompanied every step of the way, even before the course has started. We can make the content, we can start planning the content to make it relevant and have real world applications. So we made content about a world without Google when there was the issue in Australia about Google republishing newspapers and whether they should pay royalties or not, and issues about inclusive toys. Okay, you can do things like fast fashion instead of just going to a shop and buying a t-shirt. But if you have this needs analysis or you actually know who your students are, you can include this into your course. But again, if the titles are interesting, your students are going to get engaged because they can see it. You're creating expectation, you're creating anticipation. So your students are engaged and they also know that you're taking them into consideration before you've even started. Okay, so guys, during your course, create experiences. Okay, people learn through experiences. Okay, so instead of just doing sort of simple activities or just sort of asking and answering questions, let's create experiences and explore situations and concepts. Okay, let's getting students involved in the knowledge construction. Let's get them to actively participate. If we get them to actively participate, they're also going to interact with each other. If they're interacting with each other, this is also going to increase this personal attachment they have to the course and this personal engagement they have. Here, guys, give meaningful feedback. During the course, feedback is one of the hardest things to do, especially in the online environment. And there are many different ways to give feedback, but there are so many positive things that feedback can do. It can help students manage criticism, it It can help students learn to reflect on their learning, but it can also transform a student's learning experience. Use a variety of content. Okay, varying your content will help students get engaged. Okay, engaging your students with different activities and a variety of content, this gives it this interactivity that students are longing, and students say, according to Get Engaged, that they're needing in this online environment. They're missing from this face-to-face atmosphere. And also, varying your activities is going to help reach all these different students that maybe learn through different learning styles. Encourage communication. Guys, learning is a social activity. And the more people socialize and the more people collaborate, this reduces this isolation. We go back to the first one, which is experiences. We create these experiences. We teach through situations and concepts. We solve problems where students work on this knowledge construction and they collaborate together to create ideas to solve common problems. They're getting out of this isolation. So here, I have some ideas that go with this. Give me 1 second. So guys, we can personalize the content. This is one of the activities we worked on for a company who wanted to really personalize some of their lessons and some of their interactions for an online activity. This is a game that we used in a class. It's about rats. So the rat comes along, and then the students, they create the rat's portfolio. So then they pick a color, and then the color represents a different aspect of the rat, and then they choose the food that the rat eats, and then how do the rats interact with each other. So now all of your students in your class have a different rat portfolio, so their interactions are all going to be different. So the actual creation of the rat portfolio in this case takes seconds for the student to do, but because it's a personalized activity, when the students actually get into the language production, they can really create some meaningful conversation. They have all the interaction they want, and they have all this freedom that they're looking for, this freedom that they're longing for, that and they felt that they had in this face-to-face class. Personalization can go to other things. If we go and do our needs analysis at the beginning, which could be something simple like what are your likes, what are your dislikes, and things you like to work on, demographics, we can take all of those into account to see how we can adjust our lessons. Guys, if we're going to give feedback, don't just write feedback. We can give feedback in class, and I'm sure we all give feedback in class. Lots of us give feedback in written form as well if we have to answer writing activities. But there are a few things that happens when we give feedback in written form. Sometimes it's happened to all of us. We do the whole, that's great, well done, here are your corrections. First off, we know that's not meaningful, but we all fall into that trap. And secondly, if we're just writing long emails, this doesn't engage the students. It's just text on a page. There's nothing personal about that. How about flipping the way you're changing your mindset about how you give feedback. Instead of giving feedback in written form, why don't we give feedback with your voice? I mean, you could record WhatsApp audios and send them to your computer and then email them to them. Or there are online platforms like Buckaroo and SpeakPipe. You literally just go on the websites, you can record straight from your microphone, and then you get a link. So you can read their text. If they send you like some writing, you'd be like, hey Rob, your text was good, but it'd be better if you did this. Let's fix that. I like the way you use this, but let's move it like that. And here, the student gets the feedback, but in a more personal way. And if you use the student's name and in an audio, the student also gets the message that you took the time to record the message just for him. It's not a copy and paste job. So we're giving all of this extra personal attention to our students just by switching the way we use our feedback tools. While we're in class during the course, we can use game type activities. We saw with the mouse game, we did that in class. We did that as a conversation starter. You might want to create other game type activities to do as assessments or to do in different ways. You can embed these in your forums or in your LMSs or even include them in your class. There are platforms like Educator and other ones that have pre-built templates and you just fill them in. You can create interactive maps and word searches and crosswords. Okay, so here we're varying the type of activities we're doing so we can reach more of our audience. Okay, and if we know that our students want this interactivity because the research has been done and the numbers say that, we can offer this to them. We can use online quizzes. Okay. Now, we've all seen the standard quizzes that are on like our LMSs and these quiz platforms. And we know that we use quizzes during courses to see how students are doing. But we can make quizzes fun. We can gamify the quizzes to really see how our students are doing. Let's use these quizzes to motivate our students and to highlight what they're doing well and what they need to improve on. The quizzes don't just have to be like fill in the blanks or check the boxes. There are different platforms out there that have different sort of quiz styles. Okay. So incorporate these quizzes in there, and you can use quizzes to help your assessment. You can include polls and surveys. Zoom has a polling tool in it. There are other things like Mentimeter that can help you do polls and surveys, but even things like forms and Microsoft Forms, you can use these throughout your course to keep track of your students, to find out how things are going. You can use polls and surveys to assess your students, but also to give feedback to your students. But also, remember, feedback's reciprocal. So what might be working well for you, or as you think might be working well, you can get feedback from them. Guys, be timely. We said earlier that we have this big issue with isolation. okay? Because we can't see our students if we're not all engaged with the cameras. If we're clear with our expectations, we know when we're gonna talk to our students, we know when our classes are, we know when we're gonna send our feedback, we're being timely with it. We know when we want to give our feedback, but also we can send out reminders. There are tools like Boomerang that can help us send out emails on time if we want to do it like that. But let's be consistent. Let's make the students realize that we are here and we are accompanying them all the way through their course. Now, guys, encourage peer feedback. Now, guys, peer feedback is fundamental. Peer feedback can really make a difference in your course. You can get students involved in their learning. Okay, you can do this in your class. You can create activities around peer feedback. You can also use tools to help you do it. There are collaboration tools like Figma and other ones, but get everyone involved. We said learning's a social activity, so let's make it social. Remember, they're not alone. We're not alone in this learning process. And Mark said it right at the beginning. There are forums, there are COPs. Let's take advantage of the forum. Let's extend our activities. We can make the most of the forums, the COPs. We can create discussions. We can get students engaged in our forums. We have them there. Why not use them? Okay. But again, forums now aren't just limited to text. We can now upload pictures and we can embed videos using iframes and HTML, which is just simple copy and paste codes that most sites have. So let's engage our students with our forum posts as well. So even throughout the course, there's a constant presence of the teacher. So before the course has started, we've hyped them up. Okay, we've let them know what's coming. We've welcomed them. We've introduced ourselves. We said who we are. We've created an interesting topic. We've given some great names to our classes and we've let them know when and what's going to happen. We've welcomed them to the course and they've started taking their courses and we're timely. They're taking their course with us and we've got them engaged and we're varying our techniques. We're varying our activities and we're personalizing the content. We're varying our feedback techniques and we're including peer feedback. We're varying our assessment techniques. We might be using game type activities to assess them as well and quizzes. Okay, and then we're extending our activities and extending our communication in the forums. Once the course is finished, we can challenge our students to continue learning. Okay, as our courses don't finish and it's like, thanks guys, see you later. Let's challenge them to continue learning. Okay, if throughout the course we're motivating them and we're engaging them through situations and concepts and we're asking them to work together and to collaborate to solve simple problems with different solutions, why don't we challenge them to put their newly attained knowledge into practice into more complex problems? if they don't put this knowledge into practice, they're going to forget it. And let's provide takeaways for them. Okay. I mean, the ultimate goal of any course, guys, is to provide an implementable skill. I mean, something the students didn't have before. And the more they remember, the more motivated they will be to actually go on and learn more. And maybe there's a lack of reinforcement, I don't know, the sort of, which is why students forget up to maybe all of the course. So why don't we create maybe a summary of the course that could help tie in and connect all of the learning objectives and the main ideas of the program? I have some questions about you. How about you guys? What's your current situation and the current situation of your students? How do you do this? I mean, how do you manage your students and your presence before, during, and after your online programs? And what actions would you like to experiment with, and how would you measure these results? Guys, we're gonna talk about these in breakout rooms. Okay. So here I'm gonna put you into breakout rooms right now.
So Robert, it'd probably be best if we're in groups of maybe around 5, something like that, because usually in these big groups like this, not everyone is in a place where they're able to use their mic. So if we have
Okay.
at least 5, there'll be probably a pair or a tree or something like that in each group that
Okay.
can speak.
Perfect, guys. So here, just see the box, click join, and let's discuss with our partners your current situation, how you're dealing with isolation in online courses, what actions you'd like to take, and how you'd measure this.
I'm sorry, Rob, I think I might have muted you as I muted all the mics. I'm sorry about that.
No worries. There are some really interesting discussions going on there, and there are a couple of really interesting comments that really caught my attention. I think it was Lord of this who said, just start by saying hello to everyone. It's a great comment. Like, just say hello to everyone and just like greet everyone. Let's create this personal environment. And Tobias said, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're dealing with people. And it's a great way to put it. We're dealing with people, and people need to be heard. So if we know we're dealing with people, and as Tobias said, people, we're not dealing with numbers. Yeah, let's take these people into consideration. Let's make these online classes personal. Here, I'd like to share with you one of the ways that we sort of try and engage with our students online by sort of what we call creating conversation. Okay, so as we sort of move towards a flipped methodology, where we sort of hope or we encourage students to work beforehand and then come and activate their knowledge, we really want to grab their attention, but we accompany them through the process. I just picked a lesson at random, and it's something that we thought might stimulate conversation. So here, this is just one I picked at random, which is cryptozoology. Bigfoot is real. Okay, so what's the title of the lesson? So I'm going right back to what we said at the beginning, guys. So even the title, it's a stupid title, but the idea is to grab their attention. They're kind of like, okay, that's a different sort of like lesson. We don't really talk about that sort of stuff. So right from the beginning, we're sort of trying to grab their attention. Okay, we have our sort of our learning objectives, and we're trying to make them as clear right from the beginning that we want to talk about myths and legends. So these are our expectations, and we want to use words related to animals. But we also want to discuss whether mythical creatures exist or not. So here we're setting our expectations pretty clear right from the get-go. Okay, we start off by engaging them. So if zoology is the study of the animal kingdom, what's cryptozoology and why do people study it, and have you ever seen anything you can explain? So here, the students can just talk and talk and talk, but sort of about different sort of subjects they may not have considered using English for, but now they're using English as a means of communication, and they're sort of helping each other in the knowledge construction process. Okay, we have sort of matched the animals to their names. So I don't know, this might be Bigfoot, and I don't know, this one here is probably the Loch Ness Monster. This one's definitely the Yeti, and this one's got to be the unicorn. This one's has to be a chupacabras, and this one's the phoenix. And then we continue the conversation, okay? But now we sort of make it relevant, okay? So we want to make the content relevant for them. So what monsters and mythical creatures do people in your country, in your culture believe in, and where do these stories come from? We sort of understand that maybe they haven't delved deeply into the asynchronous work. So what we're going to do is sort of grab some of that work and maybe refresh it, but let's do it interactively. So we're going to do a matching activity. So we're going to say hoax is to deal lightly with someone's emotions. A wash is Sasquatch. Bigfoot is a wash. To toy with someone is a wasted effort. I'm really terrible at this. They can submit that, and yeah, of course they're not right. We've got some more stuff. Okay, so they have all the interactivity that they're looking for, but it takes seconds for them to do, because that's not the idea that we want to do. We just want to engage them to do something differently because we're varying our activities. And then all the stuff that they just saw, we're going to check we're going to concept check it here by creating more discussion. So it's, to what extent do you agree with this? So again, we're provoking more conversation. So they're using language as a means to an end. Okay, but because it's their feelings, we're sort of trying to create this emotional connection for them with an unusual topic. Okay, then let's vary it up a little bit. So we have a video about supposed proof of Bigfoot. So they get to watch that, and they get to discuss whether it is Bigfoot or not. And then finally, we can offload this into maybe the forums, like if the existence of these animals has never been proven, why do people still believe? So there's a lot of practice, but the idea for them is to use the language as a means to an end to create this emotional um, connection, to build the learning together, to make it social, um, and also to get them engaged. So I have some more stuff, but I think there are a few questions in the chat. I don't know if we'd like to attend them at this point.
If you'd like to, I know I saw one a little bit earlier. Someone was curious to know what Figma was and how that can be used.
Okay, Figma is actually a graphic design program. Okay, it's a graphic design program, but it has a really cool function where you can share a screen and people start collaborating at the same time. And when people start collaborating, you see how their the mouses move, and that when they write comments, the comments appear at the same time. It's really cool to see how it works. There is a free version of Figma. It's usually used for design though, but you can just use text if you want. It's similar to your whiteboard, but it's a bit more interactive. Figma.
Well, I have a question for you, Robert, if you don't mind me
Sure.
asking. So regarding the one of the tips that you were talking about, this idea of creating a sense of interest in the course before the course even begins. And one of the tips was, reaching out to students. Do you have a kind of typical template or way that you structure your initial contact message from the teacher? Or does that vary just how you're feeling that day? Or what are some tips that you would recommend as far as how to write a kind of a first contact email from the teacher to the students who are going to be joining them in the course?
Sure. For the contact email, I tend to mail merge the emails, of course. So the emails go out with their names. So we use the students' names. I welcome them using the name of the course. And I usually give them sort of like a brief overview saying like, so welcome to the course. And this is sort of an idea of what we would like to cover during the course. So some of the asynchronous stuff is going to be this. However, the synchronous stuff we would like to personalize more, and then we would give them a link to our needs analysis, because we do needs analysis of our students, and we take all of this into account. But the welcome email itself is basically just a template. But there are certain elements in it that change, like the name, but our main personalization comes with the needs analysis that we send out.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, but the needs analysis, it's really useful because you can discover things like what people are studying or what people are interested in, areas of opportunity, and also things like that. And if you're good at using your LMS and understanding your grade book, and if your LMS has things like longitudinal grading, you can also recommend them certain activities. So what tends to happen is we tell students, yeah, guys, go online, do your LMS work, finish the units, and come to my class and practice. But if we're checking and we're monitoring our students, we may notice that there are some students that struggle with like the vocabulary. And if we're checking this longitudinal grading, we know that, I don't know, activity 3 these units is the vocabulary one. We can be like, hey, let's focus on unit 3 for you guys. So this is why longitudinal grading is really useful. And also this helps you realize how you can personalize your lessons as well.
All right. Okay. Well, we have a couple of questions that have come in through the chat. Neil was asking about your particular approach to flipping, right, to the flipped classroom model. He says, I wonder if you could give us a sense of your approach to blending synchronous and asynchronous components. Basically, which first, which next, group sizes in synchronous components, etc.
Yeah, the flipped model, the flip model in essence, it works, right? We know the 4 pillars, so it's flexible. That's the first pillar, but we sort of have to think about the flexibility um, aspects of it and how flexible we want to be. So some people understand the flexibility as like, well, if we're using language management systems um, or learning management systems or content learning management systems, CLMSs, um, and the flexibility comes from the fact that students can enter and learn and practice whenever they want, but then they're going to come and study with us at a different time. That's the flexibility aspect of it. That's one way of looking at it. That sort of before and after is one aspect of it. The thing I don't like about the common understanding of flipped about uh, homework, sort of classwork at home and homework at school, I think is sort of a very sort of watered down version of it. We know it's sort of flexible learning culture, um, intentional material, and professional educators. What I think really is missing, or many people don't pay attention to when they work on the flipped methodology, is this learning culture and this intentional material. Like I said earlier, we're very much into, you have to complete the whole unit before you take the class. But that's completion for completion's sake. And we're forgetting about the intentional material. And whereas our role as sort of professional educators, we're not taking our students' needs into consideration. The asynchronous work, it's there as a support for our students. And students, when they take responsibility for their learning, they can explore. And we as professional educators or guides, we need to excite them. And the good thing about flipped learning is we have this flexibility because it's flexible enough to create these intentional materials to, like I said earlier, provoke conversation, to excite the students, to make them want to study. Now, we might say, okay, guys, yeah, our institution is saying you need to finish this to get your course. But maybe for my next class, we're going to focus on this aspect. So for my next class, study activity 3, because that's what our focus is going to be on. So I think there's a general understanding of flips, but people haven't really delved deeply into it and how it can really be effectively sort of applied. We're still sort of getting there.
Okay. Well, there's a couple of other questions here, but I don't know if there's something that you wanted to address from some of the content that you still had, or if you would like to continue answering some of these questions.
I have more, but please, I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay, so there was a question about from Melina asking, could you suggest ways to assess speaking and oral skills in large groups?
Yeah. Assessing speaking and oral skills in large groups, that's a hard one. We also need to consider how large is a large group. I guess we're talking 30 plus.
I'm not sure. It depends on one situation. Maybe
Yeah.
Melina, you could write what that means to you in the chat.
Yeah, 30 plus. So in this case, my recommendation probably formative assessment. Um, Formative assessment, especially when we're online, um, I would say works better than summative assessment. We need to make the most of um, these breakout rooms and sort of reducing our group size, because if we're grouping students together or we're having sessions of 30 students and one student is talking, we're decreasing student talking time with everyone else. One student speaks and 29 other students are silent. We can offload it with online tools, but if we're going to assess speaking and oral skills online in synchronous sessions, again, we need to go back to the beginning and we need to set clear expectations from the beginning and have clear rubrics. Things we've tried before include projects. So if you have really clear lesson plans, which have clear activities, and you can split your groups up and you can jump across the rooms and you can assess your students throughout the class with your rubrics as part of your summative assessment. And then throughout the course, you can assign them a project, like a collaborative project. It could be where they work in groups of 2 or 3, and they could create maybe a video presentation, and then they can upload that to Vimeo or YouTube and just make it an unlisted video.
Yeah, so I guess it doesn't have to all happen in the length of your class time, right? Well,
Yeah,
there I know that you've been working on, you have this initiative called Kiki's Adventures that's for kids, right? I'd love to know more about that. But there are a couple of questions
sure.
here about what tips do you have for creating engagement in online classes for kids, for primary school in
Mhm.
particular. There are two teachers who've already been asking those kind of questions.
Sure. For primary school, okay. For primary school, we have lots of different um, initiatives and engagement things. So again, we did um, lots of the personalization things. So this takes a lot of time to build. So especially with kids, it's all about prep time, and it's a lot of gamification. And there's a lot of work that goes into design. With Kiki's, for example, it's all storybook based. Here, let me show you, because it'll be better. So Kiki's is all about games and stories, and basically Kiki doing crazy stuff. So what one can I show you? Where is it? Kiki, Kiki. Where's Kiki Goes to London? I can't find it now. Kiki, okay, Kiki Goes to London. So, for example, in Kiki's, um, for example, we have interactive storybooks, and the stories, they literally last 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes. So this is our interactive content, which they could do either in class or asynchronously. But I'll show you. Better if I show you. So here, this is Kiki. This is Kiki's Little Red Riding Hood.
Little Red Riding Hood goes to visit her granny.
And here, so they go in, this is what they see. They can click on Kiki. And she moves. It's really simple. I think they talk.
Go straight ahead on the yellow road.
It's really simple.
And be careful of the wolf.
Here,
The wolf is in the woods.
This is the second part of the story, because the first part, she goes to London and she gets lost in London and they learn the directions. So in this part, she's dressed up as Little Red Riding Hood and she meets a wolf.
Where are you going?
I'm going to my granny's house.
And then she gets lost, whatever. She has a conversation with the wolf. And the point is, at the end, it looks like a storybook. They have to turn the pages.
She goes straight
all
ahead.
the text they can read and listen to. They
Granny's
get the house. Now, at the end of this, there's a game. So here they can control Kiki. And they have to direct her through here. But in the actual story, they learn all this vocabulary here. Let me see if I have the story. So, for example, the story is this one. This is the story. This is the story.
Kiki goes to London.
So again, we're setting clear expectations at the beginning.
Kiki and Kiki's dad go to London.
Oh, it's me.
We are going to London.
Kiki's dad is snoring.
And there are like little jokes inside it. And here, as they go through, they learn the vocabulary, like the places.
London Eye.
But
Kiki said.
They learn the directions. And then there are just a couple of comprehension activities.
Kiki goes to school. Kiki says, help Kiki go to school. Click on the right direction.
So she has to get to school.
Thank you.
Things like that. Then, to accompany this, we have songs. There's a video with the songs and directions in it. We have toys. So there are toys like this. So they can actually cut them out and make them. And then they can actually role play the whole story at home. There are other activities they can do. So there's loads of interaction both with the computer, but we didn't want to, with kids, we didn't want to create so much screen time. We wanted to create some activities with screen time and then some activities off screen time. And we also created parent guides as well, parent companions. So
okay, maybe you could suggest where can people find this? There's some people in the chat asking where to go.
It's kikisadventures.com.
Okay. I'll type that in the chat. Well,
Okay.
it's getting on towards 4:30, so I think maybe the best thing would be to move on to the final content that you have, and then we'll open it back up for more questions if that's something that you think.
Sure. The only thing I really wanted to just share with you was just a couple of final thoughts with you guys is, like I said earlier, guys, plan for your audience. Tobias said it really well. They're people, they're not numbers. Make your course and your classes interactive and varied. Include a variety of feedback and assessment techniques. Okay, so maybe instead of writing, we can send videos. Or you can record your voice and send that. Challenge your learners, and even challenge them after the course and provide takeaways. So here, guys, I created a summary of this. So here's a QR code. So you can actually scan this with your phone, and you'll actually get a PDF version of this with just the summarized version of this.
All right, great. Well, we'll also see if we can, for anyone who maybe doesn't have a PDF code reader, we'll see if we can copy paste this link as well in the chat. So let me just copy that here. Kind of doing it through my phone and then seeing how I can get that to my WhatsApp, and then I'm going to post that in the in the Zoom group. But you'll get it here in a moment, guys. And of course, we're also going to make sure that this is linked to the community of practice page, where we'll have Robert's presentation and video and recording and all of that.
Yeah, and I also wanted to say, I posted some questions for you to reflect on. How have attrition rates been affected by the influx of students actually learning online? And in your particular case, why are the levels of desertion behaving this way? And if you were taking your own course as a student, what would make you complete it? So guys, let's reflect on those, and let's see your answers in the CLP.
All right, everyone. Sorry, I got a little bit lost in my window. So I just pasted the link to the summary of Robert's presentation here. And we'll be spamming the chat in just a moment with the link to sign up for the COP as well, if you haven't done so already, and also for a survey.
Sure. So then, guys, I just want to say thank you for your time. Sorry about the technical issues. But yeah, thanks for your time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send me a message in the COP or reach out. Okay. So let's open up the floor again to any more questions you may have.
All right, and we also like to, personalize this. So if anyone would like to ask their question directly to Robert instead of writing it through the chat, maybe you can just either raise your hand or say so in the chat, and we'll make sure you can unmute yourself. Okay, Virginia, just give me a second here. Yeah, go ahead, Virginia.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for your incredible presentation. I was talking to the guys in the break room, and I was telling them, this is really good, where is my teacher? But sometimes you can ask yourself, where are the students? Because especially for us, the Costa Ricans, we are dealing with this stuff of working visually, working at distance, but the guys, our students, are just closing their cameras. So I am like, guys, open your cameras because I need to see your faces, your gestures, because they're telling me, good stuff. So I can make, I can make decisions over that. So I understand your point. It's great. But also I would like to reflect on this. Our students, sometimes they don't want to learn, unfortunately. That's my participation. I really say thank you to you.
It's an interesting point. No, and it happens to all of us, right? And there's lots of research that's going on at the moment about student engagement and camera use, and thoughts divided actually. about whether students should use camera, whether students shouldn't use camera. There's the whole Zoom fatigue thing that's going on at the moment about how stressful it is to see ourselves on cameras or even to see little versions of ourselves on camera. And believe it or not, there's also the environmental impact that using your camera has. So this sounds really stupid, but ever since I started working online, and I've been doing this for a long time, I started getting plants next to me to offset the CO2 because the actual use of your camera online creates more CO2 from your computer. So this is an interesting thing. I know it's really frustrating talking to a room of just black screens, but this is why it's really important to capture students and engage them right from day one or even before day one. But also, this is why it's important to empathize with your students. So I think it was Lourdes who said, say hello to them, okay? And make them feel comfortable. There's this whole judgmental thing that because now we're in our homes and we're all in our pajamas, that sort of, are we going to be judged on or what are people going to think of us? So we have to sort of create this empathy with them, gain their trust so they can actually turn their cameras on. But I totally agree with you. Having your camera on creates this more social aspect. So it is something we have to work on, and we also have to get them on our side. So yeah.
Thank you.
So we have Katia next, and then Barry also wanted to say something. So Katia, go ahead.
First of all, I have to thank for this great presentation, and I have a question. As a teacher, how can we encourage shy children to participate in online activities? What do you suggest? Because sometimes it's difficult for children, especially online, to participate, whatever the reason they have. So how can include the children in online activities?
Sure, that's a great question, right? Participation in online sessions is key. It's fundamental, and one of the things I would do is I would go back to the I think it was I'm not sure if it's the Suzuki method or Toyota method, which is the 5 whys. Okay, so it's you constantly ask yourself why. So it's why isn't my student participating? But is it because he's shy? But why is he shy? Is he shy because he's not engaged? If he's not engaged, then if he's not engaged, is it because my activity is not interesting? Why is my activity not interesting? Because I didn't plan it well. This may be it. So you might come up with a problem tree because there's no right or wrong answer. But if we use this 5 whys technique, we can get to the root of the root cause, and we can start attacking the root cause. But again, it also goes back to creating empathy. But if we start Toyota, thank you, Ignacio, Toyota. If we start attacking the root cause and we start creating engaging content, students will start participating. One other thing I'd like to say, don't be afraid of silence. We tend to be afraid of silence, and it becomes more evident in online classes.
So Barry or Hainer, I can't remember. Yes.
Hi, everyone. This is Barry. First of all, I would like to thank you for all the information you have been sharing with us during this session. It has been really worth it, to be honest, for the opportunities that you give us to expand our opportunities to create, to operate certain and dynamic activities in our online classes with our teenagers. Something that caught my attention in the breakout room session is that we had the opportunity to share with people with different experiences. And I think that this is what is really important, that we can share these ideas to implement in our classes so that our students can learn and increase their skills. During that conversation that we had, we realized that we had some teachers who are offering their services in university level, some with children and some other with teenagers. And the experiences are quite different, but at the same time it's the same, because our students have different lack of skills in the technological area. So we have to start first with teaching them how the computers operate and how those applications operate. And after that, when they have acquired these skills, we can start implementing, but we're still in the process. That was the result of the conversation, was that we are still in the process. We are learning. The pandemic hasn't even finished. We're in the middle of the way, and we have a long way to go right now. So for me, it was a pleasure to hear all the experiences of the colleagues that are here, and of course the opportunities of applications and activities that we can use, because we are wasted in finding different activities, in finding applications. It's really tiring. It is time consuming. It's too much. So thank you for offering us all these ideas to implement in our classrooms. I think that it will make our responsibilities in the classroom completely different, and of course the experience of our students in the lessons. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. You said two really important things. Well, you said lots of important things, but two things that really stuck out for me. One, you said it's still a process. Learning is a process, and it's a process that never ends. It evolves. So learning is something that evolves, and we get better at it. So it is a process. It's never going to end. And as teaching and learning progresses, new techniques and strategies will come up. But the second point you mentioned that really struck a chord with me was the value of your peers. So we had limited amounts of time to go to our breakout rooms where you can share your ideas. We don't know everything. I don't know everything, but we all have plenty of experience, and I might be good at one thing, but Barry, I'm sure you're great at another thing where I'm terrible at. So if I can share my best practice with you, and maybe you can share your best practice with me, we can create this community of best practice. This is why collaborating together in things like CLPs are so important. And again, we'd like to thank Mark Cormier for the great work he's doing on the CLP here, which is why when we can get together on things like CLP and extend the conversations we have here and share ideas and sort of continue these conversations, yeah, it leads to new and wonderful ideas. So thank you for your great comment.
Well, I wonder if we have anyone else that has a comment or a question that they would like to ask. You can just write your name, me, I want to say something, in the chat, or you can use the hand raise function so we can see who you are. While we're waiting to see if anyone also wants to say something, I'm just posting again in the chat these links again. There's a link to our survey, which we would like you to complete, please. You'll get a certificate of participation, a digital certificate in about 2 weeks from us. We have the link to register for that community of practice site, and of course the link to Rob's presentation materials. Neil, yeah, go ahead. Let's get your microphone open. Okay, Neil.
Have you got me now?
Yes.
All right. I thought Robert's response was very good to Katya's question. I just wanted to add my 2 cents if I could. I think one of the rules of thumb, you were asking Katya about how to get the kids to participate when there's an online, when you want them to talk online. And really, for me, the key kind of message is it's in the design of the task. I mean, we all know that if you ask a question openly and don't actually focus on someone to answer it, chances are nobody might. So you're left with that silence that Robert talked about. But if you make sure that you want to kind of get them to practice talking, or you want to assess in some way formatively their speaking online, you got to set up tasks that give them all a role that they can't avoid taking on. You know, it must be, okay, you guys have to now role play a telephone conversation. Here's what you've got to explain to the other guy. Here's what you got to ask questions about from the first guy. There has to be that requirement, or even in small group activities where one person, you know, I mean, I'm thinking right off the top of my head, one person is a customer with a complaint, the other person is the person who picks up the telephone, the third person is the boss, the supervisor to whom the first person is passed on. So everybody has to say something. So structuring the activities, whatever they're about, in a way that really requires that roles are assigned, tasks are assigned, and so they all have to say something. I think that's one of the things that I think is really important. There are other approaches to it too, and I think Robert touched on some of them. And the main thing being that it's interesting to them, obviously. And the killer for me, there's no point in God's earthly world of thinking of getting kids to talk in a group of 30. That's not going to happen. Not only do you get 29 silent, but you get 29 not listening. One of my mentors always used to say, if there's a talking activity, you have to give all the other students a reason to listen. And what's the reason to listen? There must be a listening task while somebody is talking. They must take notes. They must be able to ask questions and so on and so forth. So there I digress. But my key point was that the structure of the task is what will, if anything, can make kids talk online. It's structuring a task which requires them to do so, if that makes sense. Thanks for your indulgence, guys.
Of course.
Excellent comments. I totally agree.
All right, everyone. Well, it's about 4:41 here, Costa Rica time. Not sure where it is your time, but I'm sure we could keep going and keep talking a bit. But it looks like there was either a hand up or there was a virtual applause going on. I saw a symbol there, but it seems to have disappeared. But definitely want to take this moment to say thank you very much to Robert Boyle for dedicating his Friday afternoon to be with us. And if those of you have your cameras on, if you could just show some appreciation visually for him, I know he would appreciate that very much. So thanks, everyone. Coming very soon, you'll be getting communication from us, again, inviting you to our next PD Talk. And also in May, our National Conference for Teachers of English, where it's basically like a 4-day PD Talk with 24 sessions. And Robert will be back. He'll be giving one of the presentations. I can't recall which day, but he'll be there giving another presentation different than this one. So you will definitely want to come back for that as well. All right, so thank you very much. Please take a moment to complete the survey, and we'll see you in the COP, and we'll definitely see you at our next PD Talk and National Conference. So thanks, and have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you, Robert.
Thanks a lot, guys.